Hey everybody, Mark here again. Hey, so I got some goodies in the mail yesterday from HCS, their hub wheel puller and their press. And I've actually already made my first rear end setup. I bought some stuff from HCS to make a couple of rear ends just to play around with this. So I ended up getting some Viper axles. These are the premium ones that they sell. 0.059. That axle was $2.95, so a little pricey just for one axle. But I'm building these to put in my Neo cars, so I'm using pretty high-end parts. But if you use standard stuff, you could build a standard Viper rear end that they sell for $10. You could build it for about a little under $8 if you do it yourself. This gear I'm using is a 22 tooth RPM Hyper Rev crown gear. It's one of their tough, super strong gears, recommended for level 10 or higher downforce cars. These are 0.275 Viper Delrin hubs. I'm using a little bit wider for my high downforce cars rather than the standard 250 hubs. I'm probably going to use like 0.428 tires on here, because when you stretch those over the bigger hub, you get like I don't know, it's like a 0.44 something height. So you could play around with the different tires, and I'm gonna use a spacer. I'm not gonna put like a gear saver on. I don't think it's necessary if you have the right spacer. So I already built one of these, and I was surprised how quick I did it, and I've never used these tools before, and I had built this up in like 5 minutes literally. I think the hardest part was just getting the spacing between the hub and like where the magnets are here correct. So I had to take it off and on a few times and either use the puller or the press to kind of fine tune it. I don't have a like a spec building block, but I gauged it on kind of how Viper's cars look, so I'm sure it's probably pretty close to legal. But if I was actually going to do any club racing, I would check to make sure. But put that off to the side for now. So the way I put the gear on, I actually took this out, and you'll see the spline on the axle. There's a side that's a little longer as far as the smooth side of it. So that's this side. So you want the axle to kind of go on with the teeth facing to the right, and then you kind of line up the end of the crown gear with like the end of the spline on this side. And I kind of, again, I used like a completed Viper axle just to get an idea of where the crown gear should go. Now, I think they sell other ends that you could put in here for the gear, but I was watching online, somebody basically just, they just put the gear right in this opening and put their axle in. And see if I can do this so you guys can see it, but let me try and get it set up first. Sorry, kind of hard to do this and not block the camera. So you want to make sure you get that like it's all centered good. Keep an eye on kind of make sure it's level, make sure it's centered in the tool. Yeah, and then you basically just spin this thing in and it presses it on. Some people recommend kind of reaming out the opening of the gear first, but I didn't really have anything to do that with, so I just went with it, and it didn't seem to make much of a difference not doing it. So I kind of get that started and then kind of compare it to another axle. Looks like it needs to kind of go on a little bit more. But you basically want to put this on so that when you pop it in your car, you have about the same amount of axle coming out on each side. Go a little bit more here. So you can kind of try and you can pop it in. And you can kind of see that I need to go a little bit more. There's more coming out on this side. Not a lot though. Just like a little bit. Okay. What do you guys think? I think that's pretty close. I mean, it doesn't have to be exact. You could always, pull the wheel off or on a little more to make sure your hubs are. I mean, if you want to go crazy, you can get out a micrometer or something and measure the length, but I think that looks pretty good. And then the next thing you do is put your spacer on. I used a .20 on this one, and it was a little bit snug. I'm putting a .15 on this one to see how it goes, but again, you kind of have to just use what works for you. You might have to do a little trial and error. And then we're going to go ahead and put this piece back in for the hub. Takes a little maneuvering to get things started, but once you kind of, and again, you want to just kind of make sure that everything's kind of centered there and goes in smoothly, and you basically just twist this baby in. And on these hubs, you do want to kind of, it's hard to see that on the camera, it's got a ways to go. You want to bring the axle so it's almost pretty much flush with the opening of the hub. So I'm gonna keep going a little bit more. You can see that or not, it's still not quite there. Again, just make sure everything is centered and flush. Tiny bit more. All right, that's looking pretty good. And again, you can kind of pop this in, and if you want to really see, so I could probably go in a little bit more. That's a little bit further out than I would like it, so I'm going to do one more turn. Okay. Yeah, like that's .15 spacer, and that's That's pretty good on the spacing. So, yeah. And then you do the same thing with the other hub. Again, just kind of make sure everything is equal and properly spaced. And if I'm doing anything wrong, and you guys that have more experience at this than me, by all means let me know, because I'm not pretending to be an expert. Looks like we still got, sometimes it starts pushing this side out, so I've had that problem where I kind of have to turn it around and kind of push the side I want. Yeah, see, it's pushing this side further instead of pushing that side, so don't know if I'm supposed to be doing something different or holding this, or might just have to pull out that other. Gonna have to use the wheel puller to pull this guy out a little bit, because it definitely sticking out past the opening. And this baby works great too. You just want to make sure you have the hub seated in there properly, and if you're centered right, as soon as you start to turn this, it'll push the axle back out. Go a little bit more. Although, you know, I'm going to try and get this other end seated better. Still a little bit more to go there. It's getting there. Okay. All right, let's see how that looks. So this side's a little too close, and this side could probably go in a little bit. So I'm gonna pull this out a little bit more. And see if I can press this in. There we go. That looks pretty good. So there's a little bit of back and forth kind of tweaking. I could maybe pull that out a little bit. It's pretty close, but yeah, and pull this side out just a tiny bit. That looks pretty good. It's hardly, just the right amount of play, back and forth. There you have it. It's kind of fun. I enjoy using these tools. I know they're not for everybody. Your average home track runner is probably not going to have a need to build custom rear end sets, but if you start getting into more of the performance aspect of it, got a lot of options at your disposal. So anyway, neat tools. I mean, these I bought as a kit, as a pair, I should say. He sells them individually. Terry or Hardin Creek slots. I bought the set. I think you save a few bucks. It was like $40 something for both of them. So really good tools. I like it. So all right, guys, that's it for now. Just thought I'd share playing around with these new press and puller from HCS. All right, thanks, guys. Bye.